Hi, and welcome to this recording. We are setting up Centrify HyperScalable paths in a lab environment. And like everything else, we're going to start with a checklist. So first thing, we need to make sure that all systems can talk to each other. As a quick overview, I have my database and my Redis. They're both not highly available, obviously. It's a lab. But my web nodes, my relay nodes, my background nodes are two nodes each, and I have a logger. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that all machines can talk to each other by name and that they can reach a distribution share. In my environment, I make sure that everything is set, but you always want to make sure. So I'm going to run this script that allows me to test for connectivity. So everything seems to be okay, including the ability for my management machine to reach out and copy the Centrify packages over to the other nodes. After that, we need to make sure that we are checking for PKI. So in my environment, I have a wildcard cert issued by GoDaddy, so I don't have any problems. But just in case you need to do your own checklist, you want to make sure that you inspect the certificate. So I have the certificate is a wildcard cert, and also you want to make sure that the certification authority that issues this cert is trusted by all the nodes. Otherwise, things are going to be broken. Some of you may use certificate services from Microsoft to issue a wildcard cert. Make sure that by way of GPO or manually, you have established PKI trust. If this is not working, none of the lab's going to work. Okay? Let's then take a look at validating that my DNS server is able to resolve. So the key here is I want to make sure that the name that I have designated for my installation, in my case, is going to be lab.centrifydemo.net, that it resolves to at least one of my web nodes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that is good because if I, that's actually the address for web 1 or web 2. It's actually web 1. So that resolves. So I am happy. And also, web 2 resolves as well. But the next step is to make sure that I have my load balancers working correctly. In this case, we're going to be load balancing, obviously, the web front end. I don't have a network load balancer. It has to be a network load balancer without deep packet inspection, obviously because you want to maintain the confidentiality of the traffic that goes through. But in a lab environment, you could set up a DNS Run Robin. And the way you would do that is making sure that your DNS, I'm using Microsoft DNS, is set up for Run Robin. So you can go at the properties of the server and look at this checkbox here. You want to make sure that it's checked. And in my case, what I did was I created 2 entries for lab. One is right here. That corresponds to web 2, and actually for web 1. And the other one is right here that corresponds to web 2. So how do I make this work? I want to make sure that, obviously for you to see this, you have to make sure that advanced is checked. But when you look at the entries, you want to make sure that the time to live here is 0. Because if I need to do an exercise for failover, you want to make sure that it does. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my ping here. So notice that if I ping lab, notice that I'm getting the answer from 7 now. I'm going to Control C out of this, and I'm going to flush my cache. Now I'm going to ping lab again, and notice that if I'm lucky, over time I'll get a response from the other system. And there it is. So notice that in the first 2 iterations, I got responses from the .7 address, but now after I flush my DNS cache, I got one from 8. So my DNS Run Robin seems to be working as expected. Next step is to make sure that there's database connectivity, right? And Centrify does offer some tools that allow you to do that. when you install the management server, those tools are put in the utils folder. So what I'm doing here, I'm using one of these utilities. Is called Postgres ping to do that. And all I need to do is specify the FQDN for my server, the port, a username, a password, and I'm actually verifying the extensions as well. And I'm putting verbose mode. So in here, notice that you know, I was able to ping it successfully. It validated the credentials as well. So, and it's an empty database. You can do the same for the cache server. So the next one is to check for the Redis cache server. So there's another utility as well. It's called Redis ping that allows you to do that. So I got the response back. So that being said, the last check is to make sure that I downloaded the bits. I happen to have them in my down folder. So when I go to down folder, I have two versions. I have 20.3 and 20.4. I'll be installing 20.3 because I want to do an upgrade. And the next step would be to install the management server that is done using the install.sh. And we're going to do that in the next video. I'm hoping that this is useful.